Oh my god, a legend!
My
We
God.
have a legend here.
Write it down because the roller coaster ride is just incredible.
Was it
Oh my God, I'm
deliberate
glad
that
you clarified that. I didn't know where you were going. That's the madness. Yes, Hunter in the
So-
front. Yes, I don't do drugs.
She just won't
Legend,
Yeah.
go wash the dishes and take out the garbage. No, she's great.
say it. Gotta keep you humble.
Put it this way, research in the first season of Xena. Get rid of the little blonde. She's annoying.
So, we are lucky enough to have yet another interview as we start a new interview series that we're kind of calling A Conversation, where we kind of talk to some of the creators behind some of our favorite shows, which is really exciting. And today we have a writer, a former actor, producer, and who has written some incredible TV shows over the years. The A-Team, Superboy, Swamp Thing, Xena, and of course, Xena Warrior Princess, our favorite. It's Stephen L. Sears. Thank you,
Hello.
Stephen.
Oh my god, a legend! We have a legend here.
Yes.
Yeah. Ask my wife if I'm a legend. She'll just like,
No,
Yeah.
yeah. You're a legend too. She just won't say
legend,
it.
Yeah.
go wash the dishes and take out the garbage. No, she's great.
Gotta keep
She's
you
great.
humble. Okay, so wait, before we actually like get into it, I have to ask you about this hat. Where did the hat come from? Because it's been a thing for like 30 years.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's part of my brand. It is. And, you know, one of the things you'll learn about me, and I'll try to keep my responses short, I can be a bit detailed. The way I describe myself is if you ask me the time of day, I'll give you the history of the watch. So
Mhm. Love.
in this particular case, I'm shallow of hair. I shaved my head because it just got to the point that it was getting so sparse. And because of the sun and because of my extremely white nature, I have to wear hats. So I used to wear baseball hats. And then I was in a store and there was a fedora being sold. And I just kind of put it on my head. And this person walked by and just said, "Nice hat." And I went, "Hey, it is a nice hat." So I bought it, walked outside. Another person goes, "Nice hat." Now, there is not a day that goes by, and I'm not kidding, where somebody will make a comment like that. Nice. I just realized I have the face for this hat.
Yeah.
So I
It
figured, well,
definitely
I need a
suits
hat.
you.
And that's the thing. So after a while, it became an expectation for people to ask me if I wasn't wearing the hat. They would say, "Where's the hat?" And I literally had a studio meeting once where I showed up without my hat, and the conversation was about my hat. So during lunch, I had to go to my car and get my hat. So we'd stop talking about it. So anyway, that's kind of it. And it's a branding thing. So
I mean,
It's so
you've
good.
got emojis, you've got pictures of it. No, it's singing. I love it.
thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
that.
It's so good. So I have noticed that you tend to write for TV series more than film. Is that
Mhm.
by design, or is that just what happens to kind of tickle your fancy at the time?
Well, the broader answer to that is that the entire writing thing for me was just happenstance. I didn't plan it. I didn't, a lot of people who've heard me talk, I apologize. You're going to hear some things that are repetitious, but there's only one truth in my life. I had no plan to be a writer. I never studied it. I was an actor, and that was what I was going to be. But one of the things I realized in one of my few areas of wisdom is that to better understand acting, I needed to understand where it came from, where the source material came from. So I would get scripts and I would break them down, outline them, and try to figure out why they worked. I was working at a restaurant as a waiter because actor, waiter, got to do that.
Go together.
And I met a guy
Pay the
named Bert
bills.
Pearl, and he and I became best friends. And so Bert and he shared the same interest in this type of stuff, breaking down scripts. So the short version of this is that we started breaking down scripts, and then for the fun of it, we started writing scripts, just for the fun of it. Now, these were TV scripts. We had no intentions of being writers. One day, because of a phone call I made, we ended up in the offices, our first professional meeting ever as writers for a show called Riptide with Stephen J. Cannell Productions. And off of our story that we pitched them, they hired us to write the story. Then they hired us to write the first draft. And off the first draft, they put us on staff. And that started my career. Suddenly I was like, okay, they're paying me
A
to do
writer.
this. And
Mhm.
I'm a writer. So,
Like,
and that was television. So that's where I began.
do you have any interest to do film?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love it all. I realized a long time ago when I tried to analyze how did I end up being a writer, and I realized, and this is true for most creative people, I think, we kind of make a mistake when we put ourselves with put a label on us and put ourselves in a particular drawer. I'm a storyteller. That's what I am. Now, finding the venue for telling those stories, that's a variety of things. And actors are storytellers, directors are storytellers. The person who pulls the cable on the set, those are storytellers. They're all creative people. But sometimes you need to find where's the best area to release your creativity. And I will say I was a pretty good actor. However, people have said, oh, you gave up acting to become a writer. Well, no, I fell into the writing and I love acting and I love writing. So it's just a little bit higher than that. Because when you're writing a script, especially, you are all the characters. You have to feel them. You have to understand them. You have to see their point of view. And that's, it's awesome. I don't know how to express it. It's just incredibly awesome.
Does it get a little bit confusing whenever you have to juggle all of these different people in your head when you're writing?
No, no, that's the madness. They all exist in your head. And it's, God, I'll get so geeky talking about this stuff. It is, I walk around the house articulating the characters and the scenes in my head. And I find a lot of writers do this. The ones who are very successful definitely do it. The ones who try to write a character but don't actually feel the character, you can see it. You can see it on the page. You can see it when it's filmed. But yeah, it's kind of, people ask me, like, how do you develop your characters? How do you know who they are, what they are? And a lot of it is experimentation. But I have to know as much as I can about these characters, whether analytically or just intuitively. And the way I've kind of expressed it is that I've used this example before, but if you pick your best friend, the person you know the most, you probably only really know 20% of that person. But that 80% that you don't know made that 20% work. I have to understand the 80% of my character that you as the audience will never see, so that 20% makes sense to you.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I got to feel it. That's the thing. And I tell everybody, if you have anything in your head, write it down. Not that because you'll be a successful writer or anything like that. Forget about that. Write it down because the roller coaster ride is just incredible.
I love that.
As I said, no simple answers.
No, I love it. Because kind of like off the back of that, like we have obviously watched shows where you've changed a writing team in the middle, or you've changed a showrunner in the middle, and all of a sudden these characters that you've loved for years don't feel like your characters anymore. So like I know that you have like walked into shows and written only 1 or 2 episodes, or like, dropped in and out. How do you then go and find those characters that you didn't initially create, that someone else created, and make sure that they still tonally sound the same for your audience?
That's a really good question. And I will say that's one that I've been fairly good at, for whatever reason. It has a lot to do. I kind of simplify by saying, well, it's mimicry. But in fact, what I do is, if I'm working freelance on some series that I've not worked on, so, staff writers and people working on the show, they have an entire history. They know all the nuances. So what I do is they will send me scripts and they will recommend episodes or send me the episodes so I can watch them. So when I watch these, there is a part of me that, it's the actor, I guess, becomes a little bit of the character, but I don't want it to be me. So what I pay attention to are 2 different things. One is what's on the written page. I look at that because the writer had to find something for the actor to grab a hold of. Then the actor had to flesh it out and make it real. So the first part is looking at that writing for me. The second part is I have to look at what the actor did to it, did with it, how they created, the bubble they created around it. And sometimes you kind of latch onto maybe a characteristic that the actor has brought to it, but you begin to notice that there's a certain pattern. There's a certain flow to it. The late Robert Trevor, who passed away, unfortunately, played Salmonius. I had some conversations with him about this because when we do freelances like on Xena, if it was an outside writer and they had fulfilled their commitment to writing, one of the producers would then take over the script and do the polish for production as needed, because we can't ask them to come in and do work for free. So I think it was Alan Glickman. Yes, Alan J. Glickman. He was a good friend of mine. He had written The Black Wolf.
You! That's the little Miss Innocent who had me thrown in here in the first place.
She's my friend.
She's your friend? She's your friend? You have a friend? What is she, a warrior? Huh?
Hey, back off! You know, you wouldn't be in here in the first place if you'd kept your hands off my tomatoes.
And the original script did not have Salmonius in it. Oh. And so when it was done, Rob Tappert said he wanted to put Salmonius in the episode. So I had to kind of rewrite the script and put in Salmonius. And I'd been told, I said, look, Robert's he was a very studied actor. He really was. He was classically trained as an actor. He was very intense. And I was, when people were saying, now be careful because, your dialogue may not end up on the screen because Robert Trevor always And I was like, okay, I've dealt with this stuff before. No big deal. I write the story, but the actors have to flesh it out. So when we started getting dailies back, it was almost word for word. It was just like, okay. So I was down in New Zealand and I had lunch with Robert and I brought it up. I mentioned that whole thing. And he kind of looked at me, gave me a great compliment. He said, you actually felt the character the way that I feel the character. And he mentioned some nuances that he felt that, we had brought out in the character. The character Salmonius is a businessman. He's a businessman. So instead of him saying, oh my gosh, we got to get out of here before we're killed, that's not the way he'd say something. No, he would say, I think we should cut our losses and move to another location.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I have to sell this to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I have to admit, every now and then I could do a really nice Rob Trevor impersonation.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's really good.
He was wonderful. He was just I liked him a lot.
I can't believe that episode didn't originally have him in there.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Sometimes it's just like, I got an idea. Let's add this in. Now, if you're a bad production company and a bad writer, you would just plop it in. And I don't believe that. Any change that's made into a script, the script has to be like this. Mm-hmm. So if you add one little change, you're doing this to it. So one little note can have a ripple effect and you have to massage the whole script to make it work together. But in that particular case, that was a big plop into the middle of the script. And it was great. It improved the script quite a bit. And by the way, Alan Glickman, he understood it. He was a professional. Mm. Almost every line that he had written in there had been changed because of this. Mm-hmm. Here's a little bit of trivia for you. Only one of his lines that he pointed out remained in the script. Only one line.
I have many skills.
I have many skills.
Which then became iconic for the rest of the series.
That was the first time it ever appeared. Yep. Ooh. I have many skills. And he told me, he said, every time I see a darn bumper sticker with that on there.
It's your contribution.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So.
Well, we can move into some Xena specific questions.
Okay.
So I'm curious as to, obviously season 1 and season 2, but I'm curious as to how much of the original backstories of the characters is created prior to starting the season, right? For example, we start obviously season 2 with Solon. How predetermined was that? Did we decide to slot that in last minute, or how do we come up with where the story has come from and how much in the past, I guess?
Well, we certainly have a lot of meetings and discuss what we want as far as the flow of the season. Mm-hmm. Today, in most streaming today, it's done like a film. Literally, you have to know all the steps of the season. But back then, it's kind of like, well, we want to start here. Then why don't we move to here and we can possibly get this, but we want to end on this note. And if
Mhm.
you're a series that wants to have more than one season, then you want to kind of like direct yourself toward some sort of a cliffhanger or something like that to draw people back for the next season.
Mhm.
So in our particular case, we would know the flow, and then we would all pitch different ideas that we knew would fit within that flow. And of course, what we're looking for is something that can highlight where we're going. Now, a television series, when it's done that way, is a living creature. It
Mhm.
changes along the way.
Mhm.
And sometimes something that you put into one script as just servicing that script becomes canon for the entire series, but you didn't plan it that way.
Mhm.
But every time you write a subsequent episode, you realize, well, we established that, so we have to reference that. And as we reference that, it becomes stronger and it becomes more embedded. And I can give you a really good example with Xena from the first script that I wrote, which was Dreamworker,
Mhm.
Her Blood Innocence.
Yeah.
I only wrote that to service that episode. But we realized that that was an important thing, and we had to keep referencing that. And suddenly that became a major part of that particular character. So
Mhm.
little things like that filter their way in, but it's life experiences. It's just, like I said, it's a living creature. As you have life experiences, you can't just blot them out and leave them behind. Now,
Right.
every now and then, you get a sudden thing that happens in your life experience, such as Rob Tappert walking into my office and saying, I think Xena has a son.
Right. Okay.
Where does he come up with this stuff at?
I know you fucking lying.
And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
okay. Now, the interesting thing is that when he said that, I immediately grabbed it because
Yeah.
there was a story that I'd been fascinated with from a long time ago. It was a real life story. And I was just fascinated with the story. And now I had an opportunity to tell it. And this was a story about a woman who, she lived on the streets. She had a drug problem and she had a baby. And she knew she was not the right mother for that baby.
Mhm.
So she gave the baby up for adoption. Then 7 or 8 years later, she had straightened out her life and she had a job. She kicked the drugs. She was doing it and she wanted her child back. Now, the question was, what's best for the child?
Mhm.
I mean, she has every right to want her child back, but that destroys 7 years of that child's life, makes it almost like it was a lie.
Mhm.
So there's no bad guys in that, but there are a lot of people who are hurting.
Yeah.
So as soon as he mentioned that to me, I was like, I know this story. I know what I want to do with it. And that's where we ended up with Orphan of War.
Yeah, I mean, what I love, I think, the most about that episode is like the way that Gabrielle's innocence and the fact that she's not lived a lot of life kind of brought her into that conversation is, well, what do you mean? Like this, you should be
Like,
doing
how
this
could
and you
you?
need to take him and like, that is your kid. And it's like, no, wait, hold on. Like he's got a
Yeah.
whole established life and like he has family and was
Yeah.
just so brilliantly
But
done.
here's the thing, in that interchange, I love the growth of Gabrielle and Renee.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so glad we ended up with Renee. Renee was just so wonderful in the subtle interpretations. But if you remember in that exchange, Xena says to her, basically, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never been a
Yeah.
mother. And she returns, she just comes right back and says, yes, but I am a daughter.
Mm. Yeah.
And it was like, okay, wow. You
Different
capped that one. That's a good argument.
How can I claim something that I walked away from so long ago?
I don't know what it's like to have a son, but I do know what it's like to have a mother. And he should know that.
Don't you even think about it. This is none of your business.
Yeah. But I guess also like what I love though about that is that like again everything has a caveat to it, right? Because it's like okay, yeah, you are a daughter that you grew up with a mother, and what happened then if your biological mother came along and said that's not your mom? Like
Yeah.
it changes the whole, which is so great about that kind of particular episode in particular. But I
That's
mean
the whole
also,
point. Yeah.
yeah, so good. But harping on kind of, you had said obviously with Gabrielle's blood innocence. And then obviously Hunter having her innocence stolen recently by having to watch that episode. Was it
Oh my
deliberate
God, I'm glad
that
you clarified that. I didn't know where you were going.
I feel somebody.
A few people. But was it deliberate that you would write the kind of opposite end of that episode where it was her losing her blood innocence in that instance.
It wasn't really
Or did
planned
that
that
just
I
happen
would
to
write
be?
that episode. There was an episode that I can't remember how that it ended up being. Obviously, it was an important part of the episode from early on, and I'm glad that I was the one writing that one. That was one that I did pitch that I wanted to do. I think early discussions, Boadicea had been brought into it, and somehow it all came together. But that one marked moment, obviously it had a point to the entire series, but for that particular episode, that entire episode was, somebody once said that I led the audience to the left and then I dodged to the right at the last minute. And I did. I'm glad to say I did that, If you go back and look over the episode, there was absolutely nothing that I wrote that misled you. It was everybody's expectations.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, fans have been saying, since we dealt with mythology, when will we get into the gods of Abraham and Judaism and Christianity? And so I thought, since people are expecting that, I'm going to use that. So obviously the idea that Craftstar was the one religion, the one God. Well, a lot of religions have that particular philosophy. And then at the last moment, it looks like we're concentrating on Xena's obsession with Caesar. That looks like the episode. Her relationship with Boadicea, that's the episode. Then you realize, no, it has always been about what Gabrielle's going through.
Yeah.
And it's the lesson of obsession blinding you to everything else. And so that had to be a substantial cost, and it was. And so the repetition of things, if you remember, of course, Gabrielle says everything changes, everything's changed. And that's a reference directly back to the first scene of Dreamworker. The moment you kill, everything changes.
Yeah, but
and that comes from me.
I'm sure whenever Xena said that she didn't mean whatever happened to Gabrielle. But yeah,
well,
no,
I mean, that was the other side of it. But the idea of killing, changing everything. I'm a military brat. So my dad was in Korea and in Vietnam during those wars. And, we had kids in our neighborhood their fathers didn't come home. We understood the cost of these wars. And for a short time, believe it or not, I was in reserve police training. Kind of. Back in my hometown, I thought about making some extra money as a deputy reserve. So, I was in training with an explorer post. But I would talk to some of the deputies. And, as your kid, you would ask them, have you ever had to shoot somebody? And boy, just the way all of them, like their eyes, you could tell that it was suddenly in their head right there. And so that became an important thing. Everything changes. So that was an important thing for Xena to say. But until you experience it, you don't learn what it means. And there you go.
So, oh my gosh. Okay.
Yes, have her in the front. Yes.
Sorry, I have to collect myself. So whenever you're writing like a fight scene or a war scene, like what does that look like in your head? Because they do some crazy moves. How do you write that in a script?
Okay, so let us acknowledge that sometimes we push the laws of physics a bit too far.
No,
just a little bit.
Going. It's not far enough. It's not far enough.
Yeah. I will admit that even there were two things that even I, sitting there watching our cuts and everything like that. That was one of them. And by the way, hey, here's the original script for Lost Mariner with my notes on the front page.
Oh my
so that's
goodness.
Wait, how did that conflict come about?
and a thing that's I will refer to only as the drag, which because I don't know where you are on this, Hunter, yet.
Yep.
Yeah, that's to me coming up, and that is when I kind of went. Oh my gosh, I became blurry. That's kind of cool. Am I still blurry?
A little bit.
Can you see me? Okay, because I have a camera issue here. I want to make sure it's not just me. I don't do drugs. Every writer does this differently. I came out of a lot of action shows. So when I write action, I will actually choreograph it on the page, but
Oh.
I make sure that the second unit and the stunt people there, I make sure they understand I don't expect you to do what I wrote, but I had to write this so you can get an understanding of the impact on the story, because action is a part of story. So you do have to give the idea and the feel of it, and then you give it to a really great second unit team and a stunt team, which we had, and then they would turn it into something that was actually, you know, better than I wrote, to be honest.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I just write something very simple, and I trust the team. I know what they're going to do something with it.
Nice.
That's so funny.
Oh my
You should
God.
have seen
I need-
Hunter's reaction to the loss, Mariner. It's coming out soon. It was very funny.
She just kept going on and on and on and on.
Yes,
Like
I
the way
know.
she
I
looks
know.
like a little loading symbol.
I know.
Oh, it's so great.
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
funny.
you can almost hear the little,
Um,
you know, spring sound. Boing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
literally.
yeah. But one thing that like Xena was really good at, which I'm not a fan of clip shows, Hunter doesn't mind them, but obviously they're there for a purpose.
I've only seen 2 and they were great. So
Yeah, she's only seen 2. But Athens City Academy of the Performing Bards is obviously a clip show, but is brilliantly done as far as like, I mean, again, like I'm not a big fan of them, but what Xena does of them differently is that like it is still like a full story. Like, you know, like we're not just sitting around like a table and going, oh, I remember this. So how do you make that work? And how do you come up with the story that is then going to like be the vessel for a clip show?
Right. The essence for a clip show, for those of you who don't know what this is, but you probably have seen one, is it's a kind of a cost saving thing. You want to save some money. So the really bad version of a clip show, which you've probably seen, is a bunch of your characters get trapped in an elevator. And as they're sitting there, they start to reminisce
Memory
about the
lane.
old times, and you see clips
Yep.
of it. I mean, that's the bad version.
Yeah.
Most TV shows do some version of that. I've been working in television for quite a while. RJ Stewart, also working in television for quite a while. And we used to have this tradition, like on Monday night, he and I would go to the House of Blues and sit at the bar, like at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and we would just talk about stories. We'd try to break things. And we knew we had to come up with something like a bottle show. But we hate bottle shows. We did not want to do a bottle show. So we're sitting there just kind of like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And now they have to tell stories about themselves. And I said, well, you know, Gabrielle is a bard. So that's a natural entree. That's an organic way into this. And then we started just fleshing it out. And then we realized, do we have to stick to our stories? Can we use clips that we can get from other stories and from old movies? Because we can save money by doing that as well, clip fees and things like that. And then suddenly we had this entirely fleshed out story that if you had never heard the concept of clip shows, you would not have known that was a clip show.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also
And, like,
that
if you
trivia
would-
question, what does Kirk Douglas, Stanley Kubrick, and Xena have in common? They were all on Xena because we did the Spartacus clip at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also gives the actors a little bit of break too, I'm sure.
That is actually a very good consideration. That was a Lucy Light episode. And when you're doing a show, especially if the show has 1 or 2 leads that are in almost every scene, you know, acting is tough. Acting is extremely
I
tough.
don't know how people do it. I don't
You've
know how
got to
y'all do
give
it.
everybody, they got to have a break on this thing. I still, like I said, I started out as an actor, but I didn't have to do like the intense stuff because I became a writer. But the idea that I remember, which actor was I talking to? Well, the fact that, especially if you're in a season regular, if you're a series regular, you are performing the script you're doing right now. At that exact same time, you've been given the script for the next episode. So you've got to start doing your homework for the next episode while you were trying to do the one that you did the homework for last. And this just repeats. It just repeats. It just repeats.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So have you been going to fan Comic-Cons, like, for years? Or is it just, like, a recent thing, or...
I think any of the Xena fans who have been around for a long time, the moment you asked that question, they went,
Oh, no!
they were
She's a
like,
baby.
oh,
I am
that's
a
right.
baby, I'm
She's so
sorry.
young.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask, because if you were going to them when Xena was actually airing, did like a
Mhm.
fan ever pitch an episode to you, or like a plot or something like that, and did you ever run with it?
No.
No?
No, well, let me clarify this. We have fantastic fans, and
Oh,
this is
yeah.
not to diminish fandoms for other shows. We do. We have. I mean, it's humbling. I've worked on some pretty big shows that still have fandoms.
Mm.
The family, and it is a family of Xenites. It's just incredible. So back when we started out, the conventions I think started the next year because they were Hercules Xena conventions, and I think I've only missed one, and that was because I was out of the country on location scouts. But I've been to every one of them, and they've grown in size, and then they've diminished, and then they've grown again. It fluctuates.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been to a lot of those. Other conventions that I've been attending, Dragon Con, Cellar Occasion was one of the first ones. I'm there not just because of my background in television and the shows I've done, but very specifically, I get a very big Xena contingent. That's always talked about. It should be.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I've been to a lot of those. Now, back when AOL was the premier internet service,
Yeah.
back in the 90s,
What's that?
I'm a big technophile. So I was wondering, are they talking about us? This was in our first season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went online and I found an AOL chat room about Xena. And it was run by this 14-year-old girl named Laura.
Wow.
And these were people talking about our show. So I had to make a decision about this. I went into the chat room and I made this decision, and I've kept to it to this day. I told everybody who I was. And I told them, I said, look, I will leave the room if two things happen, and you should not be offended by this. If you start talking about episodes you want to see, I will walk out of the room, because I can't listen to that. I can't. That's our integrity here is we got to keep our integrity here. Or if you talk about me, because I want you to have the freedom to criticize me if you want to criticize me. And the fans were great. They were wonderful. There were a few times, yes, I had to leave the room, and my association with every fan wasn't wonderful. Some people we didn't get along with. For the most part, it was fantastic. So I've never really had anybody who has come up to me and said, I want to pitch you an episode. I have had people say, I have a great idea for an episode, and I will tell them, you know what, you should write it up, not as a Xena episode, try to do a screenplay off of that. So we actually I think we got a memo from Universal because of my participation on the internet, and our, how Xena was becoming popular. There was a memo that went out at one point telling us not to interact with the fans. And that was because apparently somebody on another series had done that, and fans started pitching ideas. And when the person said, oh, well, we'll think about those. Well, that's litigation. There's a lot of problems with that.
Yeah.
So they sent this out, and I kind of went, oh, that's interesting. And I just kind of ignored it. Now, to Universal's credit, they actually did a lot of really good things with the fandom. They realized we were not getting in trouble. We were not doing anything like that. But in fact, our accessibility with the fans was enhancing our show. We were becoming more popular because we were considered to be someone who listened to the fans, which we did, but we didn't do it to try to guide the series. We did it to get kind of a temperature check of where we were.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I feel like these days fans have too much input on shows.
I've seen it.
But you see, that stuff, yes, that can happen. And, we call it research. We did get responses. There's always the studios do their research, the networks do their research, and they'll come back and they'll say, we have found that this is actually what you should be doing. And it's up to us whether we do them or not. Sometimes the research is kind of like, okay, that matches the feel that we've gotten from the fans. Other times it's like, no, that doesn't match anything we find out. and the research has been completely wrong. So, it's a fluctuation thing. Put it this way, research in the first season of Xena, get rid of the little blonde. She's annoying.
No. I mean, I say that, but then I'm like, I was kind of annoyed when I first watched it.
But you see, and that's true. And some of the fans were even like that online. It's like, oh my gosh. And we had decided early on, and that's one reason why Renee was so wonderful about this, wonderful with this. We decided later on that, and I even said this in a meeting, if we make her a sidekick, we will kill her off at the end of the first season as a cliffhanger because she won't be integral. We have to make her a real character. And everybody agreed on that. It wasn't like I suddenly came up with something that everybody went, oh my God. No, we all agreed on that. So she was a real character, and she was really the audience's eye into this world. She was the innocent one walking into this world.
You still tried to kill her at the end of season 1, but
yeah, but did we succeed? No.
I mean, it
she's feisty.
So, kind of piggybacking off of that, like, how is a major character moment discussed between all of you writers? Is it something that you wanted to do? Because kind of piggybacking off of her blood innocence thing, was that just, is that something that's given to you, or is it something that you want to write and you go to people and ask them?
It depends. The blood innocence thing was, I came up with that because that seemed natural for me. It really is right there in the opening. When you do this, everything changes. That was the crux of that character, because she was going from a completely, I contrast the two characters by saying the thing about Xena is that Xena came from a point of darkness. Her childhood was a point of light, but she had so much darkness and she was struggling to find her way back to the light. Gabrielle came from complete light, and she chose to go into the darkness because of this person. And to me, that is a very heroic thing. And it's partially fueled by naivete, because she didn't know what was going to. She knew the legend of Xena. Here's the adventure of Xena. And then the real world started to slap her around. And what's the biggest thing about Xena? Xena has killed people. She was the destroyer of nations. So how do you wrap your head around that? When I was a kid, my dad, I won't give you the whole story, but the moment I realized that when my dad was in Vietnam, he had to, it's hard for me to even say it, but he had to do that.
yeah.
That was my dad. This was the guy who tucked me in. He played ball with me. I had a wonderful set of parents. They were incredible. But how do you wrap your head around that? So Gabrielle was a little bit of that. She had to find these things out. And to me, that was one of the most important things right up front. So that was me. Now, other times it is somebody saying, what about this? And somebody goes, oh my God, that could be, let's do that. Let's go with that. So it really depends.
So what we will do is we will pull up some clips
Oh boy.
that we can kind of talk about that are some of our favorites. This one is a Hunter favorite.
Suddenly I was big on there. Hooves and Harlots, okay.
I love this. I love whenever they're like this. I don't like them arguing. I just like them.
Thank the gods. We have proof.
What's this?
I'm an Amazon princess.
Great. Man, the challenge.
Challenge up.
Oh no.
The royal challenge must be on.
Only when it is made by someone of royal Amazon blood.
Yeah.
I demand the challenge.
You?
You.
Gabrielle, do you want to fight me to the death?
Not really.
You made the challenge, Gabrielle. You have
Tiffany,
to
put
follow
it
through. Choose your weapon. Or choose your champion.
She's my champion.
Hello?
I pick Xena.
Yeah.
If you lose, you all die.
Oh, I love them.
Oh, it's
That's
so
funny.
good.
Well,
It's-
the acting in that was just, I mean, the subtle
oh,
parts of that. I know what I heard in my head, and it is, I think almost every writer sees the movie in their head as they're writing and creating it. At least I have to see it. And only
Mm.
one time in my entire career has the scene that I wrote been absolutely identical to what was in my head. And only one scene, and it wasn't a Xena episode, in the entire time, because you don't expect that. What
Yeah.
you do expect
Really?
is you expect to be disappointed, or, and this is what we got on Xena, we expected to get what we refer to as little treasures. And the little treasures is when the performance, the acting, the directing, everything takes it above what you saw in your head.
Mm.
Because, hey, man, my name is still on it. I'm like, yeah, I did that. No. Just like they gave us these treasures, and they couldn't have done that unless something was on the page. So the nuances, the attitudes, just the, great. Just the reactions and the
So
way that they
good.
portrayed it. Now, it's funny because I don't often go back and watch my episodes because it drives me crazy because I know the choices I could have made, things that I could have done. And then, of course, eventually I will mock myself. It's like in that particular scene when, she finally realizes, oh, okay, not me. I can choose someone else. I
Yeah.
thought, of course, the comic version is that she actually turns and then walks between Effany and Xena and picks some random girl, says, this one.
Yeah. I mean,
And she's
Yeah.
like, what the heck?
oh, I just love them.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
they really pulled it off. I still laugh at that response. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Don't you ever question my authority or methods in front of my troops. I told you I'd do whatever it takes, and if that means killing him later, I'll do it.
Your troops? I don't understand.
We didn't ask for this. If they want to fight to the death, they're gonna get it. What part of that didn't you understand?
You? Who are you, Xena? What happened to the Xena that I know?
That Xena can't help us now. If losing her is the price for saving us all, I'll pay it. It's just a part of me I didn't think I'd need anymore. Get back to work.
Insane.
Oh my gosh.
So
Gabrielle.
crazy.
Ooh. Oh my
This was another stage of her growth and realization of who Xena was, not the legend, not the stories. And this is, I referenced this before, this episode was actually about my father. It was about me trying to understand who he was and the complications, the complexities of who he was. But there's another aspect of human nature, and you find this a lot in abusive relationships. And it's what I call running home to mama. When you are stepping into new lands, you're scared. It is like you're uncertain. You're not sure what's going to happen. And if something then happens, which is like overwhelming, your tendency is what I call running home to mama. And running home to mama means going to some place that's familiar, even if it's bad for you, even if it's abusive, it's because it's familiar. And in this particular case for Xena, she was confronted with a life or death situation against a group of people she actually feared. The first time we had seen fear from Xena was against the Horde. And she realized that Gabrielle could die. So she thought the only way I can save us is to run home to mama and become the killer that I was before. But Gabrielle had never seen that side of her.
Nope.
That's what that whole episode was about. Another learning step for Gabrielle. And then as we went along, you realize, no, Gabrielle's going to step up and say the line that just Renee did so well. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die as who I am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was an interesting one. That was an interesting one to write because that was, it was intense. And I'm bemused in the sense of bemused by being confused. that even today, if you go to like the Xenite retreat, which is a regular, camping event for Xenites, they have big things of water that are marked Kaltaka.
Kaltaka!
And I'm kind of like, I made that up.
No,
Leave it up
language
to
now.
Gabrielle to be the one that, figures it all out, though.
Yeah. And this is because she figured it out because she's becoming who she is.
Mm.
She's not the protected little girl anymore. But you realize, oh my God, she's stronger than we ever expected.
Oh, yeah. Like, her just completely going against Xena in front of all of her troops, like she just said, is just such a strong aspect of who Gabrielle is. Even though she knows that Xena is, her friend, it's, oh my gosh. It's so, like, awesome to watch.
And she recognizes whatever Xena is going through at this moment. She's like, my friend something's wrong with her. She's sick. She's got something, she needs help. But all I can do is just follow my heart because I can't follow her. And she does. And that's what brings Xena back.
And this one, changed
Greater
lives.
good.
Xena! Xena, we've got trouble!
Oh, man.
Wait a second.
Somebody's get out of my way.
Wait a second.
No.
Best feeling.
Okay, there's nothing we can do here. We've got to get out of here. That's what I think. What do you think?
We can move these barrels. We can make a defensive wall that will take days to breach.
Defense? Breach?
And when you're done with that, gather as much food as you can without leaving the area.
How long these people can hold out against Talmude's
Long
army?
enough for me to get to the body. I think Eolus is there.
If you're leaving this valley, I am coming with you. I am not going to be killed. Talmude's.
This is not about you or me, Salmonius. It's about these people. And that's why we're here. Xena was here. We are staying and fighting for the greater good. Get to work.
Okay. I will say there's a lot of things about that. I'm really happy with that episode. I'm happy with almost all of the episodes. There's a lot that's going on in there. First and foremost, you see what I meant about Robert Trevor? I mean, just like,
Brilliant.
man, he played the poignancy. He did not play the caricature of Salmonius. He played that character. Obviously, Renee's acting in this just kind of rips your heart out. In the story canon, you see that she is becoming her own little hero. She is stepping up. She could run, but no, she realized that there's something, the greater good. In the writing of it, I had written the scene and I wrote a real brief description of this, where she goes out and she basically takes out her anger and her grief on that tree, hitting it, hitting. And I remember a discussion came up before that scene was shot about dialogue. Shouldn't she say something? Shouldn't she be talking? Or is this really going to work? And I remember saying to, I forgot who it was we were talking to, or I was talking to. And I said, trust Renee. I know she can do this. And wow, she did it.
Yeah.
Now that was with other actors, I might have said, get some, safety shots, get some, in case, whatever. But I'd already seen what she had done. And I knew how far she could reach. And that scene still kind of tears me up because I feel that grief and and how that frustration. How do you get it out of your system?
Well, it's just such an
there's a lot
opposite of
there.
who she is, because from this point on, you know how she's bubbly and she's, full of energy, and then you just see her lose her absolute favorite person in the whole world. And like Tosh said, I think whenever we watched it, was like this was her first
True loss.
like experience with loss. So it's just like the complete opposite of her act. Like it's
Yeah.
just
It was
like-
the first the first time Xena died. But
yeah.
and that goes again, like that's a big character moment. Did you always have that in your head that you were gonna do that?
That would keep killing her? No.
No, but like you killed her in the first season. You killed both of them in the first season.
Yeah. No, this was a part of the script. It was thought out for the story. All of this. And it had particular reasons. It was the idea of bringing Gabrielle to the forefront. And what if you were forced to be the hero? And I was like, okay, if Xena can't physically do it, then, Gabrielle can serve as the facade, but then Xena has to give her advice and all that kind of stuff. And then I thought, but if you knock out the final pillar of Gabrielle's support, what would she do? She has no advice. She doesn't even have her friend to fight for anymore. She only has her friend's legacy and her own heart, and she's determined to fight for that.
Right, and she just turned it on.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Well, what I found so interesting about this, when you then look at, like, is there a doctor in the house, is like Gabrielle's grief is very kind of quiet and calm inside, other than obviously her frustration against the tree. Like, for someone who's not really lost anybody, to kind of have this calm persona like over the death and kind of sit there and process it was quite interesting in comparison to Xena, who's obviously lost a lot of people throughout her life, to be so angry and so frustrated and like be screaming, and like it was just such an interesting choice. And it just worked perfectly for their characters.
It did. And again, that was one of those very careful balancing acts of not just the writing, the performance, the directing, the lighting, everything came into that.
Yeah.
Everybody was on the right.
And it
the
all
same page.
worked. Now there were parts of it that on the comical side, because it is production, that was the short-lived folding staff experiment.
I was gonna bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I remember we had a discussion about the idea that, well, in one episode she's got her staff, the other episode she doesn't. Where is that staff? Is it kind of like Highlander? Oh, here's a sword when I need it. And so we thought about this idea of making the staff so that it would fold and you could put it in the saddle. And I was in New Zealand for the beginning of The Greater Good, and I was in the prop department, and they showed me this thing, and they had the tension on it so tight that when I opened it, it was like, bam! And I said, well, we're going to injure our actress if this thing pops open. So it was made a little bit loose, but then we just realized, it just kind of looks silly. So we tried it in that particular one. And the other thing was, there's an extension of that scene with her grief. It's the only place where there was dialogue in the scene, and we didn't use it. When she does her primal scream moment, where she's like, out of the sight of everybody else, she has to pretend to have control when she's with Salmonius and the other people. Then when she's alone, just like, this comes up. There was a moment that I had written where she's sitting there and she's all alone. And, she just feels like the weight of the world.
Mm.
And then the one mutual friend that she and Xena have had since the beginning, Argo,
Mm.
comes into the shot and kind of nuzzles her.
Yeah.
And she pets Argo and she says, okay, let's do this. And she gets up. The problem with that was actually getting Tilly to do that. So I think what we finally shot was we'd taken some hay and put it down there that, Tilly liked. I think it was Tilly that was in this thing. And then, the idea would come over there and we'd just get the shot. But the shots really look like, Tilly coming over and saying, "Oh, Gabrielle, ooh, tasty treat." Nom, 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 So
Yeah.
it never quite looked as poignant. And then we kind of realized if we took that out, the whole scene is actually much more powerful.
So good. Well, this has been so fun. Oh my gosh.
It was
It's
fun for
been
me,
so
too.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved
You guys have a great little show going on. I
We're having fun.
Yeah,
Can I see a
that's the
little-
whole point.
Yes.
I think what was the note I sent you was something like I like what you're doing, and even the snarky parts, and then I put especially the
Yeah.
snarky parts.
I really have to feel. I feel like I have to like be mindful of things that I say sometimes because, I mean, I never get like. Obviously, I never get mad truly at these characters because I love them so much. But man, sometimes they piss me off.
Yeah. Good. We affected you. Excellent.
Yeah.
If I could just have one person yell at me a day for what I created, then my duty has been done. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an
I'll tell you,
interesting
it's some of
journey.
the times talking to fans, it's interesting to see their perspective, hear their perspective of what they're seeing, and they're very possessive of the characters. And we get into, I've gotten into some really wonderful discussions with fans about the characters, the backgrounds, their motivations, how things, and times when it didn't work out in production, if it just didn't end up the way we wanted to, I cop to it. I'll just say, that wasn't exactly the way we wanted it to come across. But, the overall canon, the overall storytelling holds up.
Yeah, definitely does. I mean, I watched it as a little girl and loved it, and when I started earning money, went and brought one DVD at a time from the DVD store, because that's all I could afford at the time. So like showing it to Hunter has been great. But yeah, I'm possessive. I mean, being from New Zealand, Hunter's like, "Oh my gosh, I have to tell people." I was like, "We're gatekeeping Lucy. Like, come on now." Like,
I'm like, I need
we're
everyone in
sharing
my
this
life to
with-
watch this. I need everyone in my life to watch the show.
But did you have anything that you wanted to promote? Anything you've got coming out?
God, what do I want to promote? What do I want to promote? Let's see. Toms are great. I don't know. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, hold on. Here we go. Because I put it in the background. There's my book.
Ooh. What is it about?
Okay. Well, it's about 340 pages. This is actually a collection of short stories. I'm actually working on some novels. Which writer isn't? But I put together a collection of short stories because a while back people started asking me for short stories. There's I'm actually a part of the Alien versus Predator universe now because there was a book called Alien versus Predator. It was the first anthology book of short stories. And the editors reached out to me and asked me if I would write a story. Now, there's all these other people in there are like incredible authors, and they asked me to contribute a story. And I was happy to. And it was, I still love that compendium. I've got it, it's sitting over there. It's called Alien versus Predators Ultimate Prey. And I wrote a story called Isla Matanzas. And then I was asked to write short stories for Jeff Sturgeon's Last Cities of Earth, which I did that. But I had all these little short stories, which only have the connective tissue of being from my bizarre mind. There's romance, there's horror, fantasy, science fiction. They all have, if you know me well enough, you can say, yeah, there's Steve. It also has a short story. I'm saying short, it's actually longer than most of them, which I wrote with Kevin J. Anderson. And Kevin J. Anderson, he's known, he and Brian Herbert write all the Dune novels that come out now. And Kevin has a huge amount of wealth of work that he has written. including Dan Shamble, which is a zombie detective, which is, I guess, being developed for a TV series now. But Kevin and I have known each other for years, so we wrote a graphic novel called Stalag X with Mike Rotera doing the interior art. And there's a novella that's in there about a character named Deacon, who's one of my favorite characters, a female assassin. But anyway, that story is actually included in this. And in the print version, because you can get Kindle, is actually, that's the first pilot script that I ever wrote for a studio.
Oh my God.
It didn't go to production. It was Columbia Studios, Columbia TriStar for CBS Network, and it's called Harry O'Fell, the Detective from Hell, and that's included in there. But yeah, so there's a bunch of short, if you want to get a kind of an insight into my mind and fear me for it, short stories.
I'll check that out.
And then, you know, other projects that I'm working on. So we'll see how those turn out. There's always something.
Always something.
Well, we will link your socials below and a link to your book below so that everyone who's watching can get it.
Cool.
But yeah, this was so much fun. We had so much fun. Thank you so much.
It was fun for me. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Kind of a little trip down memory lane for me. And just to, and I will say, I want to say this. I appreciate that I get to hear the perspective of people, especially this far past the actual initial series. I love passion in people. I love that. It's one reason why I love fans, because of the passion that people have. The passion that I have for storytelling is what led me to where I am now. So when I listen to you guys talk about the episodes, it's not that you're critical or you're laughing or having fun. There's a little passion in there. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I remember when I wrote it, I felt a little bit like that. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate it. I just wanted to let you know that.
I am so blessed to have Tosh with me on this journey, because I mean, she knows so much about these characters, and she gives me such a different perspective, because, you know, you always get one reaction whenever you're first watching something. And so her being able to like give me the deeper meaning into everything, oh, it's so great.
Yeah.
I love her.
You guys have a really good thing going on. You work together very well. So
thank you. Well, fingers crossed it gets bigger and we can keep doing this and having more fun.
There you go.
So yeah. But we will see you on the next conversation. Bye.
Sure. Bye, everybody.